Hello, everyone. Today we are going to talk about sites in the Middle Tennessee area about Sergeant Alvin York. If you're not familiar with Sergeant York, I have linked down to the Wikipedia page about him in the description down below. And just as a summary, he grew up as in a poor family in rural Tennessee, and he was drafted into the military for World War I. And while he was there, he ended up in a particular battle with a small number of U.S. troops. He was able to take on an entire German machine gun, and with just a small group of soldiers, he was able to capture 130 German soldiers and was able to capture them as prisoners of war. And when he returned back to Tennessee, he was one of the biggest heroes of that war. And today we're going to look at sites um, around Tennessee that deal with Sergeant York. Any visit like that is going to start at the Sergeant Alvin C. York State Historic Site. This is located, if you would take Interstate 40 to the US 127 exit around Crossville and go north along that highway about 50 miles, you're going to be in the town of Pall Mall, Tennessee, and on some maps it's going to be referred to as Wolf River, Tennessee. But at this state historic site, I guess the first thing you're going to see is this is the house that Sergeant York lived in, and if you get there while the park is open, this home is available for tours. Also on the grounds of the park is this historic tank, so that's always something that's neat to see. And there is a small trail leading from the back of the house. It's about 1,000-foot walk to get to York's gravesite. His wife is there buried alongside of him. This is in Wolf River Cemetery. If you are willing to walk about 1,000 feet, this is a pretty easy walk. I will say that there is a sulfur creek that runs through here, and it does kind of smell bad. If you don't want to walk, there is a way you can drive a couple of miles and also get to the Wolf River Cemetery. Here we have a closer look at his actual gravestone, pointing out that he was a World War I Medal of Honor recipient and born in 1887, died in 1964. The other main highlight of the historic park is the mill that he operated, and it is, if you go back to the house, it's across the street and across the river from the first point, and so we have this. It's a beautifully painted red, and I think it makes it quite a nice standout look to it. If we turn around, we can also see where the mill is located on the Wolf River, and you can see a little bit of the dam there in the background. Here's a better look at the dam, and it is kind of a neat scenic area just by itself. And it wouldn't be a Tennessee State Historic Site unless there was also a moonshine still there. Now, this is not much of a still. This is just a couple of rusty old cans where which were probably a part of the still, but this is all that's left many years later. The next site I want to talk about is a spot that is sadly in disrepair. This photo is probably 10 years old. The most recent photo I've seen of it, all of the windows which are breaking here are all boarded up. But go back in time when York was a hero from the war, he had come back home. He used his fame, he capitalized on that to raise money to build a school for the other people who lived in the Jamestown area. And this school was built as an agriculture institute for, especially for the poorer people in the Jamestown area. So this is located in the town of Jamestown. It's about 20 miles south of the historic park. The city is located along Highway US 127, and this is on the north side of town. I don't think you can get much closer to it, but this is a view that you can get from the old highway. If we travel further south along Highway 127 into the town of Crossville, just north of the town square on 127 is the old train station. And when York was first sent off to war, like most soldiers at the time, they were sent to the nearest train station, and then the train station took them to the military. And this was the closest train station to where York lives, so this is where he departed, but also where he came back. Now, there was a famous movie about Sergeant York that starred Gary Cooper, and Gary Cooper also visited this depot, and there's some films, there are some scenes of the film that were uh, made at this particular location. If you keep traveling south on Highway US 127, you'll see signs for the Cumberland Mountain State Park. Specifically look for Highway 419 and take that road, and that's going to take you to Bird Lake. Now, after one of the jobs that Sergeant York held after he left the military was he was the park administrator of this state park, and one of the things he did was work with FDR's Civilian Conservation Corps to oversee this lake being built. The name of this lake is Bird Lake, and it is really scenic, especially in the fall. The road that you drive on to get here actually goes over the arched brickwork you see here. That is the road above, and this is also a dam. You can hike down to the other side and look at the spillway as the water goes over that. There is a this is a really scenic area. Now, if we head on into Nashville, uh, Sergeant York has been memorialized with a statue on the grounds of the state capitol, and this statue is going to be pretty close to the corner of 6th Avenue and Charlotte. And as long as you can find a place to park, it's free to just walk up here, walk the grounds, see statue to a couple of different presidents, Sam Davis, but as we're talking about today, here is Sergeant York. And one other site that you might want to check out while you're at the state capitol is if you go across the street to Legislative Plaza, there is the War Memorial Auditorium building. And if you go around to the 7th Street side, you'll see signs for the Tennessee State Museum of Military History. This is a separate branch of the Tennessee State Museum. And if you go in there, we have the same portrait that I had highlighted earlier, but they actually have Sergeant York's actual uniform that he wore for a while on display here in the park as well. Now, I will say that with the Tennessee State Museum building a new location, I don't know if that means that eventually the military museum is going to move or if it's going to stay where it is at the War Memorial Auditorium. But that's one other thing that I think would be quite interesting to visit here. I hope you enjoyed this short tour of Sergeant York sites. Please visit my website, SeeMidTN.com, where we have a blog and links to several different theme galleries, whether you want to see different counties from Middle Tennessee, or if you like trains, like the train depot that we saw earlier, or steam trains. We've got Rock City Barns and neon signs, all kinds of different things like that. I've also got galleries about all of the historic markers in Tennessee and much more. So please check it out. Thanks for watching. Bye.